All right. We are live. Okay. I'm excited. We're going to dive deep here and we are going to basically get as much information about you, what you're doing, what you're bringing to Tampa. How long have you been in Tampa, Susan?
Well, I just relocated here at the end of October, actually. I've been in Florida for about 8 years, but I was south of us in the Venice Englewood area.
Okay. Awesome. A little bit of a change, obviously, moving up here, but for the better, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Okay, so just so everybody who's either watching this live or watching the replay, I want to
Sure.
introduce you guys to Susan. Susan has joined the Navigate family here in Tampa. We're super excited about that, just because of the diverse background that she has and the extensive um, opportunities and therapies that she brings to the table to match the health and wellness side of things that we're doing here at Navigate. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Susan. Just kind of explain a little bit about who you are, what fascial stretch therapy is, and just kind of give us a little bit of background on kind of why you chose to go into fascial stretch therapy.
Okay. Let's see. So I am originally from New England. I grew up in Western Massachusetts, moved a little bit through the center of the country, Pennsylvania. I guess you could call that the center. And then I landed in Arizona for about 14 years. And that's where I met the teachers of fascia stretch therapy. But prior to that, when I was young, I used to dance. And then I did the whole aerobics thing and taught aerobics and eventually bar class and came to Pilates along the way because I do have a lot of back and neck issues and have all of my life. So over the years, you try to figure out how to help yourself and take care of yourself. And certainly working out and running, you learn to stretch. But there are ways to stretch that are effective, certainly, and there are ways that are not so effective. One of my Pilates students, and I went to Pilates to work my core to improve my back strength and reduce pain. And I believe that worked. And I met this student who had created this fascia stretch method, and they've been doing this work for almost 40 years now. They've taught it all over the world. The study of fascia is relatively new in the world of medicine, though Europeans are pretty far ahead of us. But it's a great international group of people who work with FST. And fascia is the connective tissue in your body, and we all have lots of it, from the soles of our feet. Most people have heard of plantar fascia, all the way through your body up into your skull. It doesn't just go in a straight line. It goes in many directions, and there are many layers of it. It goes from a thin, filmy material to a hard cartilaginous material that connects at the joint capsule. So when you have an injury, when you have a health issue, when you have surgery, when you have a repetitive use injury or an overuse injury, even a lack of use injury, which would be termed maybe as sitting at your desk all day or driving a vehicle for a living. Those kinds of things, even though you're working, are technically lack of use for your tissue. So those things can cause pain, tension, tightness, lots of discomfort, lots of restriction in your range of motion. So fascia stretch therapy is a science-based, individually customized approach that's very gentle to release the restriction or tension, tightness, and reduce pain in your body. So we do that through working in a pain-free method with your central nervous system, because if we aren't able to take your body from fight, flight, or freeze and into the more conducive parasympathetic state, it will be hard for your body to ever regulate and reduce pain and heal itself, as we know a healthy body should do. So once I found this work, I couldn't believe how different I felt, and I had to dive right in and try to figure it out. And then years of work later, here I am doing it. So it's great stuff because it really can help people, and I love that about it.
Yeah, and it's so cool to kind of see you because obviously we work very closely, right? So it's like every time I'm coming out of my office, I see you working with the client. It's just like, dang, like these people are just like they're so relaxed and like the response from them is incredible too because you're not just working on per se like a specific injury, right? You're working
Right.
full kinetic chain, whole body, and which I think a lot of people there's a lot of types of, and we'll leave it at this. There's a lot of types of stretch therapies out there, right? So
Absolutely.
the thing that we've really noticed, and this is from a data standpoint, is that the clients who have gone through either a couple visits with you or a couple sessions with you, right? They have noticed just improved mobility,
Mhm.
range of motion, flexibility, but also when you start working with the neuromuscular side of things,
Right.
the enhancements from just a neurological standpoint opens them up to have way more accessibility too. So functionality, like their improvements are completely improving, and you're not noticing them being, consistently in that state of either pain or just kind of discomfort or whatever it may be because you're working full kinetic change, which is just really, really cool to see. And I've never been exposed to that. So I think that was something that I was just like, wow, like this is a great partnership. This is something that has to happen because so many people need this.
Absolutely, yes. And I think it's so complementary with what you offer at Navigate. I think that if I can relax and calm people's nervous system before they have their adjustment, it will make it that much more successful for them.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
you brought up a great point. You can't, I guess you can spot stretch, but not so effectively, And what I love about Navigate's approach is that it's total body. It's not, sadly, what we do with Western medicine is really focused because we specialize, right? So,
Yeah,
somebody who works on your knee isn't the same as the person who works on your shoulder. But, your tissue is your tissue. It is throughout the entire body. And where you have discomfort or tension and tightness is not necessarily where you have the issue. So we have to be able to peel back those layers and figure that out. And if I'm only stretching, your left knee, say, or something that you're telling me is an issue, it's not necessarily going to solve your problem.
100%. Right. And so I think that's really important because there's a lot of, I should say integration, but as
Mhm.
chiropractors, we focus on the structural system. We focus on the nervous system. And so I think that if more people were understanding that, hey, yes, I definitely need chiropractic care to fix the structural issues, but this is just going to encompass and it's just going to enhance, it's just going to continue to drive me forward towards total health, total wellness, total vitality in a sense. I think more people just need exposure to it is really what it comes down to. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about how it integrates extremely well with chiropractic and some of the things that we have here, but also like how do you personalize it to the person?
Um, okay, so there's certainly a protocol that I will approach, and I'll work you from maybe bottom to top or top to bottom, just so that I systematically, when I'm working on you and sensing what I'm feeling, I don't forget to leave something out. But each person needs something done a little differently. Some people are super tight perhaps. And they might need some repeated proprioceptive neurological action to get release. Most people I find really need to learn to breathe. I mean, I think we all do.
Yeah.
It's our first act and our last act, and yet we don't ever really practice it unless maybe you're an opera singer or I don't know, someone who works at a height, that extreme height or something, right?
Yeah.
But it is profoundly life changing when you learn to breathe. It will help regulate your nervous system so very much. And certainly we know, cardiovascular says everything is improved when we breathe normally. So having someone on the table and getting them to understand that if they breathe, it's a signal to their system that they're allowing for this release to happen. It's very important. If someone's tight and they're resisting me or they're pushing me, they're very active and they're staying in fight, flight, or freeze. They're not allowing for release. So I'm maybe a tool, I'm a vessel for the person, but they're working themselves to get the release. I'm just assisting because it's hard to traction yourself, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm there to work with them. And my teacher calls it a dance. And frankly, it's very dance-like in motion. It's slow, gentle, continuous. And I'm going to work both sides of your body, but generally speaking, I'm going to find this person tells me their pain is on the right side, but I'm finding their left side's not moving at all. So I'm going to take a little time here and try to see if I can get some release on this left side to address the right side issues.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I think that that was something that we really had to learn about too, just from a understanding of the client standpoint is like really what's going on and then kind of working backwards, right? You're unpeeling layers
Yes, yes.
because I'm sure even in your line of work, when you see a client, they come in and they have some of these surface level things, you start digging deeper and you're like, hey, I'm finding this going on. How does this relate? Or tell me a little bit more about that. Yeah, like I had an accident, when I was 15, car accident. It was really traumatizing. And, not only is it just the physical side of things, but now you're diving deeper into probably, I would assume, emotional
Absolutely.
layers. You're diving deeper into psychological and there's so many different layers of healing, as we know. And so when you're working with somebody, just kind of give general viewership just some expectations of like if somebody starts doing the stretch therapy that you specialize in, the fascial stretch therapy, what is a typical timeline? Like, is this something that is just a one and done? Is this something that they need to do kind of repeatedly? What does that look like when you come at it from a stance of, this is what we're going to recommend?
Right, right. So initially, it we kind of get to very deep layers of things. So to your point, exactly. I had an accident when I was, when I was 15 years old or 15 years ago, whichever you said. Um, Oftentimes, and I'm sure you find this all the time, that people forget to tell you things. They fill out information and they talk to you about what's going on with them. And then, they're lying on your table and you're saying, what are you feeling on this, I don't know, left ankle, say, because it's not moving and I'm not really sure what's going on here. And they say, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, that happens often,
Yep.
right? So if it's something from a long time ago, and often people will say, well, I didn't think you needed to know that. Scar tissue forms for a long time. And we don't really know why, but we know some bodies make a lot more scar tissue than others. Scar tissue does not stay in one place. It can grow deeply, top to bottom of your body, front to back of your body in a crazy pattern. It can affect so very many things and so very many systems. So generally speaking, the work is pretty deep first.
Okay.
And so it might take a while. I mean, you as a person who receives the work should feel a difference. But it's going to take a while to say unwind years of a clump of scar tissue. If you think of it like a big clumped up amount of packing tape or saran
Yeah.
wrap, you can't just rip that apart and have it be gone. It has to gently be peeled back over time. So continued consistent work is much more successful for people than once a month, say. So that initial weekly or biweekly session is going to get you more relief more quickly.
Yeah. I think that that's probably similar with anything, any good habit, right? So we look at brushing our teeth, getting adjusted, going to the gym, right? It's not just a one event type situation. It's like,
Absolutely.
oh yeah, I'm good, right? And we hear that all the time with chiropractic. It's like, is this something I gotta do forever? Like, You should, right? Because it's good for you. You
Go
don't.
out and live, you know?
That's right. And that's what I'm saying. I tell people this all the time. It's like, okay, like you expect me to do just this one adjustment miracle, and you're gonna go mess it up next week by jumping
Absolutely.
your kid. Like, yeah, let's be real here, right? So, um,
True, that's true.
I think it's very, very different than I think what most people view a stretch therapy session like, right? Because there's different franchises out there,
Sure.
and you can go for 30 minutes to an hour, and you can just kind of go. It's kind of just like a what I've seen. Obviously, is just kind of you're just getting kind of just a nice little resist stretch, right? But when
Sure.
you're working through this, how do you really kind of like trigger different areas? I mean, what is a session look like? Are you I know what it obviously looks like, right? But to the viewers, what do they need to be in specific attire? Do they need to be do they need to stretch ahead of time? Do they need to wait? Like what is the do's and don'ts of some protocols that you recommend?
Okay. So, you don't need to stretch ahead of time. Just live your normal life. Come in and talk to me about what's going on. There'll be a little paperwork for you to fill out. And then I do kind of a movement assessment. And generally, I mean, some of that we'll do standing, depending on what your complaints might be. But generally, I get you on the table pretty quickly and assess there. And hopefully, if you're in just relaxed, comfortable clothing, so movable, not tight, restricted clothing,
Okay.
you want to just be able to be comfortable and it will be an interactive session. Now, I say that, and definitely some people have fallen asleep over the years, and that's okay. That's great. That means they're relaxed. But I might ask you to breathe, and I might ask you to give
Yeah.
me a little resistance, and I'll certainly be checking your breath and your facial reactions and your eye ticks and all the things that let me know how you're really responding. Because to your point of other types of stretching, we all kind of have that thought of more is better, right? No pain, no gain, which is
Yeah.
absolutely 100% the opposite of the way I work. And even when I say that to people, when I say to them, you will have much more success if we go gently and kindly and we work with your nervous system to achieve this result, they'll say, but you can push me farther. Well, no, that's the exact opposite of what we're trying to gain here. And people will say, okay, they'll listen to me. It's not like they're maybe not agreeing with me, but they think when they're lying there, if I push more, it will be better. And in fact, it sends you right back into fight, flight, or freeze. And so that is absolutely the opposite of what I want. So for instance, we're doing, the foam rolling workshop in a couple of weeks at the clinic. And standardly, people who have foam rollers have those hard foam rollers. And mostly they sit around in your house because they're painful.
Yes.
It's you get on it and it takes your breath away. Well, okay, maybe you're going to release the muscle, maybe if you can stay on it long enough. But I'm really not targeting a muscle. I'm working with the whole system and I'm trying to release. So I'm going to advocate soft foam rollers and you actually using it, go figure, and for a lasting kind of result and release.
Okay. Awesome. That's also a great point. We do have a foam rolling class come up. So if anybody's watching this, and you guys want to get signed up for that, just let us know. We'd love to have um, those who have never been to a foam rolling class, who have no idea what a foam roller is,
Right.
who have been scared to do foam rolling.
Sure.
We would love to, yeah, have you guys come to our event, learn the basics of it, learn how to do it the proper way. And see it as such a huge benefit to anything else that we're doing here in the office as far as just continuing to create healthy regimens. So Susan, I guess one question that I know that we've gotten a lot in the office as far as in regards to bringing you on board and kind of getting you exposed to a lot of our clients is how does the stretch therapy kind of integrate with the other services that we have, and even maybe things that we don't have in the office, like acupuncture, diet.
Mhm.
How does everything kind of mold together?
Um, I, I think it's just another tool in your total wellness kind of approach, right? Something that, uh, to your point earlier, a good habit that you can get into that will allow for you to live your best life. Sure, you can get an adjustment or and feel better today. But then you go out and play. I mean, I had a client last week who's a patient of yours who had played, I think, 3 rounds of golf that week and then gone to Top Golf and practiced for another couple of hours. Well, chances are they were a little tight and restricted. And perhaps had a subluxation at that point in time, needed a little tune up after. I mean, our life will continue. And hopefully it's all good and we won't have, an accident or a fall or any kind of disease in our body. But chances are we need to approach our total wellness and our healthy mobility and functionality from lots of angles. And those angles would be those things like your scheduled, consistent adjustment and stretching. And a lot of those tools, stretching tools, you can take and do some things at home on your own. Certainly, I'm going to go over that with anyone that comes to me, give them some options. And of course, your fluid intake, your water intake. So many people don't drink water. And your healthy diet, all of those things, they're all pieces of that total wellness. They're all part of the menu, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was actually it's funny you say the hydration part because I think that that's something that people really overlook, super easy, and it's probably one of the biggest changes that doesn't take a whole lot of change.
It's true. Yeah.
I was reading a stat, it was like 82% of the world's population walks around on a daily basis that's, dehydrated, and it's just like, if everybody just carried around one of those water jugs that just told you how much to drink at what time during the days, health and wellness would look a whole lot different at that point.
It's
So
completely true. Yeah.
let's talk a
Breath
little
and water. Breath and
bit.
water are huge.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about maybe certain cases. Like, how do you know maybe this isn't for you? Like, is there any specific type of client or case that would not respond well to fascial stretch therapy?
Mhm. Um, there are cases where I would approach completely differently.
Okay.
Uh, People on the hypermobility scale, um, they are already hypermobile. That being said, they usually have parts of their body that are not very mobile. And their session would add a lot of different things along the lines of perhaps compression at a joint after I've worked it. So I wouldn't say that fascia stretch is not for someone who's hypermobile. It just would look different than it does for probably 85% of the rest of the population.
That makes sense.
Um, the table that you've seen at the clinic is electric, and that allows for me to easily have people in wheelchairs transfer. So there are lots of people. I really haven't found anyone I haven't worked with. I've worked with super athletic pro team kind of players and people in wheelchairs and veterans and let's see who else. I'm not sure that I've really found anyone it doesn't work for at some level.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's just like anything, like what we do too.
Right.
Every case is different, and it's kind of that assessment, right? That assessment's huge because it allows you to get an understanding of really what's going
Yes.
on, what the client's looking for, what are you reciprocating in terms of the goal aspect of the visit too. So,
Right.
um, how do people get in contact with you? If they're interested and they're seeing this, they're watching this, and they're like, man, this sounds great. This sounds different. What is the easiest way to get a hold of you to do? kind of that introductory of
Mhm.
seeing what.
Mhm. Well, certainly they can call the clinic. I'm there at Navigate on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And other than that, anybody who comes in, I give them my card so they can text me directly and I can give them a time that I'm there. So that's certainly possible. Happy to have people just text me directly. That's not a problem. I lost you're muted.
I apologize. So what we'll do is we'll put your contact information, obviously in the description below too. So for those of you who have been engaged in this video and you're like, yes, stretch therapy, it's kind of in the realm of rejuvenation and the big biohacking terms these days, which is awesome. I'm glad that somebody had to create a whole new term for us to be more aware of
Of course.
to do, right? So for those of you who are interested in it, what we'll do is we'll link Susan's information below. You guys can schedule a time to get together with her and see exactly how this could be a benefit. Just in closing remarks, Susan, if somebody was out there and they're just like, where do we start? What would you say in just terms of, how to get, kind of started on this journey?
I would say come on in and let's talk about what your goal is. And we'll start today with giving you an increase in your range of motion, a decrease in discomfort, and we'll go from there, see what else we can do for you.
All the things that people want to hear. Get
Right.
out of pain, feel better, be able to move better.
Right.
So,
Gotta
well,
keep moving.
absolutely. Well, we appreciate you, Susan, so much. You've brought such a whole new perspective to the team too, as far as just, other, you know, holistic approaches that continue to encompass, true health and vitality. And we just are so grateful for you. So thank you so much for jumping on the collective today. We appreciate you. And for all those of you, we will post this information below so that way you guys can get in touch with Susan. And we will see you guys next month on the Tampa Health Collective.
Great. Thank you, doctor.
See you guys. Have a good day.